job. Raise your hand if you were here yesterday. Oh, that's so exciting, because that means that most of you should know our verse from yesterday. We are going to go over our verse. So all eyes up here. Wiggle your fingers. If Miss Marlene's a talking, your lips are not flapping. There we go. Wiggle your fingers. Do you remember the verse from yesterday? Okay, ready? Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. Good job. If you weren't here yesterday, there's a few of you. We're going to go over it a bunch of times, so don't worry. Today we have a new verse, but we'll say that at the end. So who remembers yesterday what we spoke about? You don't even know what I'm going to ask, and you're saying, raising your hand. That's excellent. We talked about Noah's something yesterday. What was the big mission yesterday? Noah's, it starts with a G. Who remembers? Noah's, Connor. Yes, that's in the verse. But Noah's godliness. Do we remember that we were studying, and the challenge was for us to live in such a way like Noah? What did God say? Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So we remember that God, when he looked upon the earth, remember that? All he saw. I hear a lot of talking on this side. Shh. Noah was found grace in the eyes of the Lord. But when God looked down on all the earth, remember what God's word said yesterday in Genesis? All he saw was wickedness and evil intentions in the heart of man. Remember that? But listen to what God said. What did God say yesterday? And he looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. So with the great love that God spoke our whole earth, man and woman and the beast of the fields and the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea, with that great love that he created this perfect world, remember he was heartbroken. How much it hurt God that his creation turned from him. They no longer sought him. They no longer talked to him. They no longer were walking with him in the garden. His heart was broken, and all that God saw upon the earth was wickedness in the heart of man. Except for who? Noah. So remember we said yesterday that, I got something under here today. What were we going to do with wood? Do you remember I pulled out a bunch of wood yesterday? You think he's going to build something? You think Noah's going to build something? What could Noah possibly build? An ark? What's an ark? A really, really, really big boat. So listen to what God told Noah. And God said unto Noah, this is God himself speaking to Noah. Could you imagine? I try to imagine sometimes, what would God's voice sound like? Is it a big booming voice? Or in God's word we know it's a still small voice. But however his voice was, God said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, are you ready for what God's about to say? When God speaks, we need to listen. I will destroy them with the earth. What? There's so much wickedness in the land, so much wickedness on the earth, and God's heart was broken about it that he said, I have to erase all of it. I am so sorry. I am so hurt. I grieve so much in my heart for what my creation is doing, how they're hurting themselves, how they're ugly to one another, how everything in their heart is just evil and more evil, that I have to destroy them. Uh-oh. What about Noah? Because we just read that Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. But here's the wonderful thing about God. When we're surrendered to him, he has a plan for us. When we surrender our hearts, we don't have to die in our sin because he sent Jesus. God always has a plan. And that was a plan also for Noah. So listen to what he told Noah. He gave Noah a mission. An impossible mission, some people were saying to him. Because, listen to what God said. It was a crazy idea. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Now, you just told me that an ark is a boat. It's not just a boat, boys and girls. An ark that God is talking about is a really, 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 really big, huge, humongous boat. Bigger than anybody's ever built. And some people that study the Bible and the times and where Noah would have lived, guess what? There wasn't even a body of water around that this boat would fit in. God wanted him to make an ark. Now, it wasn't one of these fancy boats like we see out in Jupiter floating around out there while we're driving to work or over the bridge to the beach. It didn't have a sail. It didn't have a motor. Pretty much just a box. But we got to remember that Noah couldn't just go to Home Depot like I did and buy some wood. Noah would have to start off by cutting some trees down. Now, this is back in Bible times. Noah couldn't go to Home Depot and get a chainsaw. Maybe he had a saw like this. Maybe he had a hammer like this. You want that hammer? You can't have it. It's mine. What? Maybe he had a screwdriver like this. Maybe. Where's my other tool? Maybe he had a flashlight. Let me put that in my bucket. There we go. Why would he need a flashlight? We'll find out in a minute. So listen to this. So God said, make thee an ark of gopher wood. I don't even know where you can find gopher wood these days. And what is gopher wood? God knew, and we know that Noah knew. And listen to what he said. Rooms shall thou make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and pitch it without. What? Pitch it within and pitch it without. Now, if we remember the story of Moses, remember Moses' mom made a basket to put him in, and so the basket wouldn't get full of water. She had to put pitch on it too. Well, the pitch they're talking about is ooey gooey sticky stuff. And Noah not only had to build this ark, he had to cover it with pitch on the inside and pitch on the outside so the water wouldn't get in. Now, he couldn't go to Home Depot and find fancy caulk or fancy paper or anything to make it waterproof. So not only did Noah have to build this big old box, big old boat of wood, now God said to cover it in pitch, sticky stuff so the water couldn't get in and it would float. Oh, this is really, really sticky stuff. Really, really, really sticky stuff. But you know what's incredible? One of the incredible things about this story? Let me see where it is. Ooh, all the way down in the bottom of my box. Wait a minute. I got to dig in here. Hold on. It's all the way. Almost got it. Here it is. God said that this boat had to be 450 feet long. So I brought this thing, again at Home Depot. No, I didn't have one of these. I don't think there's 400 feet in here. How many feet are we at already? Just 30. How about now? Just 39. Oh my, just 48. How many feet did I say it had to be long? 450. I'm only at 61. What? I'm only at 74. No more room. That ark wouldn't even fit in this room. I'm only at 82 feet. God wanted it 450 feet by 75 feet. And you know how tall he wanted it? 45 feet. Mr. Jeff calculated that for me, and that's only 24 all the way where the lights are. Double that. Noah had to build that. And he didn't have a Home Depot. He didn't have fancy stuff and even a cool tool belt like this. Actually, this is from Walmart. You can find this at Walmart. So God said, Noah. There goes the ark. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, don't fall, ark. God said, does anybody know what these are? These are popular in my house. Blueprint, floor plans, yes. God told Noah exactly the size of the boat, what kind of wood, how to build it, and how big he wanted it, how high he wanted, how wide, because God knows exactly what we need. He has the instructions. And we don't need one of these in life. You know all we need? It's right here. This is the blueprint for our life. These are the instructions that God has for us. This is how to live. This is how to act. This is how to talk. This is how to think. This is who we should worship. This is who we should seek. He has all the answers in his book. Okay, so Noah is now building. We learned that Noah had 3 sons. Did his sons help him? I don't know. I would think so because he raised a godly 3 sons. So they get to work. What was the first step? Where's our tree? You got to cut down a tree. Now what do you do with a tree? You got to plane it and make planks. Then what do you do with it? Then you somehow, I don't know what kind of nails he had. By God's word doesn't tell us if he had big nails, small nails, if he hammered it in, and if he tied them in. And then what did he have to do? He had to cover the whole thing in sticky stuff pitch. But what does a captain of a ship do? Who knows what the captain of a ship does? Steer it. Well, you know that God's word says nothing about a steering wheel on Noah's boat? No steering wheel in God's boat. So what does that mean? Who's steering the boat? Not Noah. He doesn't have a steering wheel. Who's steering the boat? God is steering the boat. All Noah had to do is follow his instructions. The boat would float because the steering wheel is super cool. I'm going to put it in my car. Look how fancy with glitter. So Noah didn't need a steering wheel because you just said it. Who was steering the boat? God was steering the boat. And in life, we don't need to know the direction. We don't need to know which way. God knows the way. And when we seek him and allow him to steer the boat. And you know what else the boat didn't have? What are those things that you see sometimes? And you pull it up. What are those things that wave? A flag or a sail? The ark didn't have flags or sail because that allows a captain of a ship or the person in charge to control the boat. The ark didn't have any sails to be controlled by Noah because who's in control of the boat? God is in control of the boat. So we know that God told Noah how big, how wide, how tall, and even what kind of wood. What kind of wood was it again? Gopher wood. I never heard of that before. But God did, and Noah knew exactly what he was talking about. So here's the situation. God told Noah how big, how wide, how high, and then you know what else he said? 3 stories high. What in the world would Noah need 3 stories? You think Noah had a bunch of furniture he had to take on the boat? It was 3 sons, 3 wives. Wives can't have maybe a bunch of clothes. Maybe 3 stories, a big old closet on each level. Did he need furniture? What would he need 3 stories for? The animals. Listen to what God said. And he said, a window, which is this little box that we put on top. A window shalt thou make to the ark. And behold, God is talking, even I do bring a flood of waters. Now this is the incredible part to me. Because, you know what? It had never, ever, ever, ever rained on the earth. Did you know that? That before Noah's flood, it had never, ever, 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 ever rained. So what do you think all these people, all these wicked people were saying to Noah, as he's building a boat in the middle of nowhere, and there's not even any ocean or lake, and it hasn't even rained. What do you think these wicked people are saying to Noah? You think they're saying, Noah, go Noah, good job, can we help you? No. They made fun of him probably, and they mocked him, because we learn in the New Testament, Peter tells us that Noah was a preacher of the gospel. So he was telling all these wicked people, God is coming, he's told me he's sending a flood, I'm building this big old boat, and you can come on me if you just turn to the Lord, if you just seek him above all things. But God's word tells us that the only people that believed the Lord were Noah, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. So we learned that it had to be 3 stories. Connor just told us that he was going to fill it with animals. And we'll talk about those animals tomorrow. But the big challenge today, yesterday we talked about Noah's godliness, how he was the only man that found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And today we talk about Noah's obedience. So when God spoke, did Noah listen? Did he say yes? Or did he follow everybody else around? What should we do when God speaks? What should we do? Should we obey like Noah? Obey like Noah. Because Noah is the example. And this book, so many stories, Moses and Joshua and prophets and all the disciples, so many stories for us to learn that when God speaks, a true follower, out of love and devotion for all he's done for us, we love him because he first loved us. When God speaks, we say yes and obey. Noah didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know where the water was going to come from. God said, build a boat, and Noah did. So our verse today, which Mr. Jeff is going to put up there, I got more sign language. The verse says, thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Ready? So we already know for Noah, but before we get to Noah in the verse, it says, thus did. So put your hands like this, like you're grabbing that wood. This is did. Like he's working. He's working, building the ark. Thus did Noah. You know Noah. Thus did Noah. Ready? According to. Two, you just touch your index and your index. So, thus did Noah, according to all. Do you remember all? We just did it in sign language. Grab it all. All that ice cream. Oh, yes. All those strawberries just for me. So, thus did Noah, according to all. Now you make a sign like this, pinky up, thumb up. That. Thus did Noah, according to all that. You got that? How do we do God? According to all that God. Now God commanded, which means in order, instructions, blueprints, commanded out of his mouth. He spoke and it was. God. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded who? Him. You just point. Him. So did he. We end it. Ready? Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him. That's Genesis 6:22. So we got 2 verses now. And I'm going to give stickers to your leaders again. If you can say that verse, we'll keep working. If you need help, we'll keep working. You get another cool sticker today. So let's say it a couple more times. Ready? All eyes up here. Genesis 6:22. Good job. Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him. One more time. Ready? Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him. Good job. One more time. Ready? Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him. Good job, everybody. Yesterday was Noah's godliness. Couple more minutes. All eyes up here. Today was Noah's obedience. When God spoke, what did Noah do? He did all that God commanded him. And that's our mission, our challenge today.